when the bombs began to fall. Now where were you, my dear? Did you think a plane would come and save you from this wreck? I'm sorry, but you were wrong. Let's hop a train, get out of here. There's but one left that'll take us where we need to go. We all knew that it was gonna end this way, so hold my hand and there'll be nothing to fear. If you're afraid, we'll get some beer. If you're still afraid, well then we'll get some whiskey too. And we'll drink until we can't remember our own names. Smash those bottles against the remains of this machine. So when the sun falls to the sea, and everything we thought we had is gone, may we wake up bathed in a glorious radiant dawn. Pick ourselves up, move right along.
Okay, we got this. We're recording. Welcome, folks, to the Garret Schuelke Podcast. I am your boy, your host, Garret Schuelke. And this is a very special episode of the podcast for numerous reasons. First reason is I actually have some good equipment now, as in a mic. So yeah, powered up technically. Over 9,000. And another reason why it's special is because I'm here live from Not Ducking Any Row Studios, based here in Toledo, Ohio. And my guest here is poet, activist, and union auto worker. He's most recently founded Not Ducking Any Row Studios. Am I right in that?
Yes.
Okay, I looked it up just when I was writing stuff up last night to make sure. I'm not, yeah, now I'm sure. We're good. He has recently released a chapbook, Give Us This Day Our Daily Grind, an ode to the American factory worker. And, God, my fucking writing. God.
Mine too.
God, I suck. And yeah, just most recently, you are just about to launch your very own podcast, the Blue Collar Gospel Hour. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Denton.
Hey, everybody.
Dan, thanks for being on. And actually, I didn't realize this until this morning when I woke up hungover and shit. But yeah, this is also the anniversary of my first SWAPCAST with a podcast that you folks may know called Your Welcome Future Self, based out of Kalamazoo, with comedians Bob Fredericks and Adam Summerfield.
That's pretty cool.
Ironically enough, as I told you in our messages, we could technically make this a SWAPcast.
Yeah, I'm hoping to. I think I'm going to put this up as our first episode, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, I'll totally give you a copy of the episode.
Cool.
Yeah, but I guess this is the second time it's happened. So, I don't know, depending on how it goes. Maybe that'll be something for me now. Like, I'm just this guy helping podcasts start it up. Just a podcast Zeus. Just blessing everything as I go.
Somebody needs to. We need that work.
Indeed, I do. Dan, thank you for hosting. And like I said, folks are already here in Not Ducking Any Row Studios. And again, I am very impressed.
Thank
It's
you.
a very nice studio. It's somewhat jealous because I wish I could have something like this. But, when you live in a studio flat in Grand Rapids with 2 other people, we can't do the setup.
Yeah. So, on the other hand, it took me till I was 39 years old to buy a home, and because I had to figure out, things like credit, So, but
And I'm still trying to figure
life's
that
been
out.
really good, and me too. We bought a house and my credit score went down. I don't know why it went down.
Well, you got a house. So.
I don't know. I tried to figure it out and I'm like, screw it. Like, I don't really need to buy anything else for a while. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, Dan, how you been, dude? if I remember correctly, this is the second time you and I have met in person.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of wild because that was probably 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 years ago we first met in Michigan City, Indiana, at a underground lit fest.
Yeah, and which by the way, coronavirus took away from me this year.
Is it still going on since Michelle McDonald, I think, moved to
Honolulu? It's like there's nothing, like there's no travel, there's no festivals, there's no live poetry readings, there's studio building in a basement because nothing else to do, you know? So,
yeah, folks.
I've tried a couple of Zoom things, but...
Yeah, I have to say, though, if you folks couldn't tell off of my awesome intro there, you've been pretty busy, Dan.
Yeah.
You got a lot done this past month.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I'm bipolar, and when you get a little manic, it's...
Yeah, we're all damaged, dude.
Yeah. I've always...
We wouldn't be here if we were normal.
We could talk like 6 podcasts on that probably. So,
you never know, we might.
Depends on if you find me on a weekend I'm dosing shrooms. Find me the weekend after that weekend. But,
are you on shrooms now?
I am not currently on shrooms. It's been a while.
It's
been a while.
We're going to do a shroom cast sometime.
Yeah, we've thought about that. We've thought about making that something like eventually I might do like a Patreon. I don't know. Like making that like for Patreon subscribers only or something. So my kids,
there you go.
So my kids don't get a hold of it, but which I'm not hiding from them. I just don't know if they're ready to know about that yet.
Solid strategy until they learn to use your credit card and do decide to pay for that episode.
Well, you see, they're on our Apple Pay now because their cell phones on our plan, which makes me really nervous because they screw it up sometimes, and all of a sudden I get a $30 charge out of nowhere, and it's not like, I'm not a wealthy man. I have to work a lot, and I'm not paycheck to paycheck, but not far from it. $30 on a Thursday might be a little tight sometimes,
Yeah, these kids are buying their Patreon-only episodes.
That's well, my 16-year-old daughter is buying K-pop stuff now, and that's like...
Oh, nice.
I try to be a cool dad, so I'm like reading K-pop stuff on Twitter, but I really don't understand it, I just pick up enough pieces I can still talk to her.
Did she assist in fucking up that Trump rally a while back, since he blamed TikTok and K-pop fans for the
probably
people?
Probably, which they think is outrageous. Some young musicians who helped me. I've had a lot of help putting the studio together, by the way. And I got a couple of young musicians and artists that came over and told me all the equipment I needed because I had known nothing about this. I just know a lot of cool people and I like to talk. And so they came over and helped me, and they talked me into getting a TikTok. They talked me into downloading TikTok.
Is that's still around? I thought Trump banned that.
Well, I think there's a moratorium, and there's like 3 other giant capitalist billion-dollar gazillion companies trying to like feeding frenzy off of it right now because China don't really have a choice to sell it. You know how it is in capitalist America. The government's on their side and whatever. I don't know if that's going too deep on the Garret Schuelke Podcast, but...
Oh, come on.
I don't think it is, but...
We're all not... Hey, despite what the reputation is, this is just not about, conspiracy theories and people me and Zach despise. No, we can be deep, too.
Well, yeah. So, but anyway, they talked me into getting it. And so far, I haven't got on my own channel or anything yet because I probably have to sit down for an hour or two and read how to do that, to be honest with you. Even though I have whatever, So the first time I looked at this TikTok, you open the app up. I don't know if you've ever looked at TikTok, Garrett.
Oh, I have.
Well, the first time I opened it, there's automatically a video of this big booty girl doing the complete history of 7 different kinds of twerking. And I watched it 7 times, and I thought, well, I don't know what TikTok is, and I don't know how I fit into this, but I've had one on my phone ever since, and I look at it once a day.
So you gotta take it at your own pace. I mean, same thing with podcasting. Like I said, I just got these new mics, which seem to be working good now. But yeah, I'm in season 3, but beforehand it was just that.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you how many seasons it was.
Yeah, we're currently in the midst of season 3, which, like 2020, has been pretty wild.
I was talking to my my mother-in-law, who for some reason I get along with. This is my third wife, by the way, so my third mother-in-law. And we were talking, and I told her, I said, it's tough when the year, all year is more bipolar than I am. Like, it's like hard to,
Yeah,
like
wow.
I can be pretty wild, but when the world's stable, but when I'm wild and the world's not very stable, it's like, wow, this is a hell of a ride.
I mean, the year started off with Trump literally assassinating a high-ranking government official from Iran. And we almost got into a world war there.
Yeah, it's a little tense.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm sure everything will be fine after this.
Yeah.
What else could possibly go wrong this year?
It's that I've stopped asking that, and at some points I've gotten like just numb to it, and then it's like you're numb for 5 days, and something crazy and outlandish happens again, because it's like every 5 days, and you're like pissed off again for a week, and you're like, all right, let's go, and it's like, fuck, I don't know how much longer I can do this. We just need a break. I need a vacation. Airplanes need to be safe again. We need the shot you get, a vaccine. We need one of those.
I'm hoping for at least the end of the year. That would be nice. In part so that I can actually travel outside the U.S. again.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: How has that affected your work life?
Work life? Okay. At the warehouse, which, you listen to the episodes. I try not to name because I'm afraid
Absolutely, me too.
Yep. So at the warehouse, basically we have to wear masks all the time, right? And we get checked in the morning, like they do the temperature check thing, and you're supposed to stay 6 feet apart from each other, which we try, and they haven't made this public, but me and a few others are in the know, but we have a rate system where we have to like make 95 or higher for like the whole week, but
because capitalism.
Because that, and they pretty much just scrap that unless you go like below 80% or something, because like it's like you can't expect me to stay like 6 feet away from people, which or try and make rate, which will involve like going around like trying to select like do yoga under them to grab shit. Yeah, you can't expect me to do 6 feet apart but then make rate. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So they haven't made it like official, like they're not announcing it, but everyone's kind of in the know.
Yeah. So, and if I ask any inappropriate questions, feel free to decline to answer or whatever.
I think I'm usually the one saying that to my guests.
But you work in an organized warehouse, right? Unionized.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, USCW.
And despite any, I know you well enough, Garrett. So when we met 3 years ago, 4 years, 2 years, I don't know.
About
not last year, for sure.
2017, I think.
So 3 years, that sounds about right.
Yeah, my first short story collection, Hup Jamboree.
Yep, I got a copy sitting right.
I know, you came up to me like, yep, I bought it right here.
I have an autographed copy.
Gee,
one of these 2 shelves behind me.
Gee, I wonder who autographed it.
And my my blue collar bookshelves that I thought about doing. I've dreamed of this. This is. And so since you guys can't see it, I've got some cinder blocks and some 1x8s, and I made a bookshelf in my basement studio.
Classic DIY punk look.
Yeah, and that's I spent a year or two in my early 20s in underground punk garage bands, and not bands, but watching them, and doing some things that the United States government considers to be revolutionary. And sometimes I like to remember that part of me. And I work in a factory, and that's kind of like, it makes me. There's not a lot of people working in a factory that write poetry, or are a writer, But when you have kids and then decide you do want to be a writer after all, that's just kind of what you got to take care of the kids and learn to do that. So, or want to have a podcast night. There's a couple actually. I've ran into a couple working people that have podcasts, and that's kind of And you guys have all helped me a great deal. Like, that's been kind of cool.
Oh, thank you.
So, but knowing you on social media for 3 years, like, I know you have some, let's say, concerns with union leadership.
Oof.
Okay, I'll just say that. Okay.
Indeed, I do.
So just so everybody knows, I work in a union auto factory, and I have a lower level elected position there. Okay. So.
Oh wait, so you are an elected official of the union?
I am.
Not just a regular member like I am.
Well, yeah. So I am an elected representative, lower level. Like, I'm the guy on the floor. You know, like, I have an office, but I spend 90% of my day on the floor. You know, talking to, walking up and down the assembly line. Well, right now it's been. Well, we got so an assembly line. As you can imagine.
Wait, so
you're working pretty close together.
Yeah, I'm about to say. We talked about we just talked about my workplace. How about your workplace? Like, how has it adapted to the pandemic?
What we've seemed to finally have come to a numbness about it, which is, so we got some relief coming. Like, we've been kind of just hammered for a while with some things, and the CDC requires this, and that's what we got to hold them to. This is not something you bargained about a year ago, because nobody knew this was coming a year ago. Yeah. So this is something we it's all new to us too. So it's been, we have the thermal cameras when you walk in.
Wait, cameras?
The thermal, yeah. You walk in, and it checks you as you're coming in, or somebody sitting in a booth that gives you a thumbs up.
Oh, really?
They provide masks, require masks.
You see, that's way more professional than mine.
This is a big, it's a union auto factory. This is a big,
Oh, yeah. Folks, I say the warehouse, but it's pretty much a general supply stuff and pharmaceutical.
Yeah,
as I like to say for the stores that we send it to, at least back in the day, I would say that if you ever wore like a Sharknado t-shirt or like a Duck Dynasty swimming trunks, I probably packed that shit.
God love them, God love department stores.
Yeah, it'll be fine, Quan.
Okay.
But
yeah,
I don't say the name on here, but you don't have to be Batman to figure out what it is.
Garrett, I have no idea what I'm doing. I told you this. I just I know a lot of cool people, and I like to talk.
I'll give the hint out to people to where I work. It's run by one of the 3 oligarchical families in Grand Rapids, and it's not Walmart. It's not Target.
This is why I like you, Garrett. This is why for a couple of years now I'm like, man, I got to find a way to see this guy more, do something, but. Capitalism,
you actually wanted to come to Grand Rapids. I was like, bro, I would love that, but I have like a apartment flat with 2 other people, and it's hot as hell because we don't have central air. I think I should come to you.
Yeah, and I honestly, I travel a lot, and I haven't been able to do that, so I'm always looking for a chance to go for a 2-hour car ride. And Grand Rapids, I was there maybe 10 years ago for a weekend, one time, and I was struck by how it's not that much different size-wise in Toledo. Maybe 75,000 difference. Toledo's got maybe 290,000 people.
Well, it's
270,000.
Honestly, I think this is like my 3rd time visiting Toledo. I forget the first time, but the second time was for a Bukowski tribute reading.
Oh yeah,
did that at some bar that I can't remember.
Yep,
even then
on Adams Street. Yep.
Oh,
the attic on Adams Street.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, there's a video online of me awkwardly reading it with my bright orange flannel shirt.
Yeah, we did that. I went through that a couple of times, and that was something that didn't happen this year.
Oh yeah, I haven't.
Coronavirus.
Last time I've been to a bar was back in March when I was in Toronto. Yeah, that was when the virus. Oh God, I have a 2-part series, The COVID Life, but I'll just say it again. That's when the enormity of this pandemic really hit me was when I was in Toronto. I saw Matthew Good, great show. 30 minutes after the show, he announced he is canceling the rest of his tour. Then everything else, including the bars one bar I was going to go to, the Bovine Sex Club, Holla, Punk Rock Dive Bar in Toronto. They canceled their weekend shows. Everything was shutting down. Then, and by the way, Canadian media was freaking out just as much as American media.
Yeah.
The only thing about Canadian media is that they straight up said, yeah, we're going to a recession later this year due to this. Whereas here in America,
instead of trying to sell false hope propaganda.
Whereas here in America, it's a false hoax virus. The Chinese made a bioweapon. We can take care of it. Anyway,
we can't even agree if it's okay to inject like Lysol in household cleaners or not.
Yeah,
that's the level we're at right now.
Yep, and,
it's how do you repair it from there?
and I got home like right before they announced and enacted the ban between travel between United States and Canada, which is still going. And Canadians polled, I guess, saying they want it to at least the border to be shut down at least until next year.
But you can't blame them, can you?
Oh no,
me either. It's like it sucks because my wife and I were planning to go to Toronto this year for like a little 5-day weekend vacation or something.
Oh, dude!
Because she's like watched documentaries about their international cuisine and she loved coronavirus.
Oh, brother, hit me up when you guys about to go. I'll give you some suggestions.
Absolutely.
But yeah, compared to Canada, which I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I was looking up like statistics with them. They've only had like 200 some deaths in Canada. Whereas here in America, we've just allowed ourselves to become a COVID-ridden hellhole.
It's so this morning I got to go to a community park called the Union Memorial Park. It's dedicated to the auto strike in Toledo in 1934, which has been ranked by historians as one of the most 3 influential strikes in American labor history. And the park is in the north end of Toledo, a lower end neighborhood now, because a lot of those factories are gone now. But they built a park there, and it's kind of a little overgrown, so like 50 different union members. And I was talking to some city council members down there, and they were saying people don't understand how much less money they're bringing in right now, and what that's going to mean next year. And I'm like, oh man, anyway. Not to be all gloom and despair, it's great to see you, Garrett. It's
great to see you too, Dan.
Not to have a black cloud fall you back, But
hey man, we live in the Midwest. We're pretty used to it.
Man, I love. You know what? Let me ask you this, because you're an artist from the Midwest. You're a writer. I haven't seen a lot of your graphic novel work, and I need to.
Graphic novel?
You have some I've got the Whoop Jamboree, but you've got other books out there.
Oh yeah.
And I don't have any of them.
Oh,
I think I bought one of them online on an e-zine or something, or
really?
Electronically or something once.
Oh, Kindle?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because funny enough, I actually just got some Kindle royalties recently.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, so anyway, but you're an artist from the Midwest. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it took me a long time as a poet or a writer, or sometimes I do some crazy, I'll spray paint some wild shit on a satellite dish, that's whatever. You can't really display in some places because it's that defamatory. But, I do some art stuff, and it's hard to, it took me a long time to realize that, Midwest is a pretty cool place to be, it's a pretty tough place, but it's, we got some character, that we got some character that they don't have on the coast because they haven't had that toughness, Has that been your experience? There's also, and as I told you earlier, Gary, I have to have some hope.
Oh yeah. I'm not a complete nihilist. I could get depressed.
Sometimes every now and again.
I get depressed. I'm very black-pilled, or more recently, I say black suppository. LOL. I am clever, but my experience. Well, like I said, I grew up in Michigan and grew up in Alpena, Michigan, northeast.
Which is different than most places in the country.
Yeah, very, very small town, very isolated, and well, I hate it. And I'm 33 now, and I still hate it, but it's not like I'm raging out about it anymore.
I haven't been to my hometown that I grew up in 7 years.
Yeah, I think besides age, it's just the fact that I live in a bigger city now. Grand Rapids, second biggest city after Detroit, and the fact that I travel a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, personally, if I was given a chance to move out of Michigan, I would in a heartbeat. Like preferably, like I would love to move to Chicago.
And so that's pretty wild. So I've got this theory. So I grew up in downstate Illinois, about 2.5 hours south of Chicago. I was born in Indiana. I grew up in downstate Illinois, near the Champaign-Urbana University and University of Illinois.
Yep.
So everybody in the Midwest has a Chicago connection. This is a theory of mine. Like there's something about Chicago that kind of just holds us. It's like our gravitational pull. Like it holds the Midwest together somehow.
Yep, it's the big city. Like
it is.
It's our metropolis. Like I think last I checked, even though that may change soon, it's the third biggest city in America.
It is still.
After New
I
York,
looked recently.
After New York and L.A.
And that's, but to be clear, I'm a Bears fan, a Bulls fan, a Blackhawks fan at some level, mostly Bears. But
yeah, I'm a hockey guy, so
I'm a St. Louis Cardinals baseball fan, so I don't like Chicago baseball at all.
Oh man, I should introduce you to my homie Robert Dean.
Oh boy,
loves the White Sox, hates the Cubs. Like
so, I've got a couple of friends like that. But ironically enough, in the auto factory I work in, they had a plant. The same company in Illinois had some reduction of staff, and they ended up transferring here. So I've got a bunch, maybe 100 Chicago Cubs fans now at work. So the Cardinals-Cubs rivalry has kind of been born again in my life, and it's been. I bought a couple of Monster Energy drinks recently and some lost bets, and we were talking. I was talking to a couple other artist friends recently about how it's weird because I got this thing about sports. Like I know it doesn't provide a lot of intellectual value in my life, but it's like part of who I am still, and it's like part of Midwest, and it's it's like baseball and football are for me.
Since we're talking about sports. How you feel about the recent protests taking part in it? Like players
in the NBA and
and
NFL and
players taking a knee, just straight out refusing them.
Well, I'll be honest with you. So I'm a Chicago Bears fan, and I'm a Midwestern blue collar factory worker, and that we value loyalty in the Midwest, and I like that. But we're supposed to anyway. That's the. So I don't own any other NFL merchandise besides the Chicago Bears ever. That's my team. It doesn't matter if you're not in our division. That's my team, except for one. I have a number 7 49ers jersey hanging in my closet, and 1 year for my birthday when he started kneeling and people started like burning his jerseys, and my birthday's in a couple of weeks, so it's in September. And I told my wife, I said, you know what? I was like, I want to call it like an official Colin Kaepernick jersey. And by the way, that's had like record sales for a while. But, so I'll tell you what I think, Garrett. I have a Cuban wife. I have biracial stepchildren. The things that Colin Kaepernick was kneeling about and protest of are a daily reality in my home. I'm a white, middle-aged American man. And so these things, I have a son that's 16. His mother and I have been divorced for 15 years. And he lives in a small rural area of northwest Ohio. And if I could handpick a hero for my son to look up to, which I can't. I wouldn't want to do that. But if I could, I'd want it to be Colin Kaepernick. Because that's a man that, despite the wreck of his career, like that ruined his career. Kneeling for what he believed in ruined his career. He'll never play in the NFL. I'm going to say it. The NFL is never going to fucking look him in the eyes and apologize. And he said, you know what? It's worth that. This man had worked his whole life to be a football player. He's at the pinnacle. He went to a Super Bowl. And he said, you know what? This is going on and it's wrong. And my career isn't as important as that. And he kneeled. So that's what I think. And anyway, by the way, in the factory I work in, there's a lot of what I call deer hunting Democrats.
Oh, never heard that term.
It's like the Reagan Democrats. They're kind of conservative. They deer hunt in November. They take so as a matter of fact, so much so that's one of the when deer hunting season's in, we can't call off emergency vacation days during that period because it's so popular. But so they got a lot of guns. They're kind of conservative, but they're mostly Democrat because they're union workers. So when you wear a Colin Kaepernick jersey in that environment, it causes an uproar. And so that's something I've stopped doing, because of my work in the union, I don't want that to. But then I've also found ways to wear Black Lives Matter shirts anyway. We had an 8 minute, 30 or 8 minutes and some seconds, George Floyd Memorial on Juneteenth, which the fact that they shut an assembly line down for almost 9 minutes and they agreed to do that company-wide across the country, these are historic times. These are the things that give me hope, by the way.
Dude, I mean, you're a union official, so yeah, that's fine. I mean, you're a union official. At my job, we have one of the 2 union stewards. This one we don't particularly like for a few reasons. One reason is because major Trump fan, and he will gladly wear his Trump 2020 shirt around. So the whole, worry about wearing a Kaepernick jersey or Black Lives Matter shirt. Remember, there's union stewards and union members blatantly wearing Trump shit.
It's
no problem. So
we're not. So there was a survey done after the 2016 presidential election, and something like nearly half of UAW workers voted for Trump. Yeah, and so me being the guy I am, and these are the people I work with. This is the environment I work in, and we're pretty evenly split. And there's a lot of unknowns in the middle, but I'm pretty sure I can guess kind of which way they're leaning. And it's I think, okay, why? I've got some theories, if you got a minute.
We got all the time in the world, brother.
I consistently vote Democrat. My union consistently endorses Democrats, and I'm not telling anybody not to vote Democrat. Matter of fact, I'm going to again this year. I'm not afraid to say it. The things that we're battling every day, like I said, are a reality in my home.
Dan Denton,
and it's
riding with Biden.
That's one of the other union stewards at work has told me he's going to get me one of those shirts. And there's another union steward that's a Trump, going to vote for Trump. I don't know if he's a full-on Trumper, but he's going to get him a hiding from Biden shirt, he said.
Oh, jeez.
But it's to be clear, I'm not a huge Biden rah-rah guy because he supported NAFTA. And NAFTA's killed a lot of my union brothers and sisters' jobs. But we keep endorsing these guys, right? Okay, so I don't want to go too deep on that because. So anyway, union workers are not dumb people, and that's something we don't get enough credit for. I think that's kind of on the rise a little bit, which sometimes is too extreme. But blue-collar intellectualism is something that's on the rise. That's why I'm starting a new podcast, the Blue Collar Gospel Hour. That's a little bit on the rise, but we don't get enough credit for what we know and how important we are, And so people aren't dumb, and they're like, wait a minute, we keep endorsing these people, and we keep losing factories. So then you get a guy come along, and he's not a politician. And he said, hey, these guys are all screwing you, both sides. And he's like, them trade agreements, I would never do that. They've been killing your communities. And they're like, wait a minute, this is what we've been saying for 30 years, but Hillary didn't talk about NAFTA.
Oh, no.
Hillary didn't come to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or Toledo, Ohio, or Grand Rapids, Michigan, and say, you know what, we're not closing any more auto factories on my watch, but you know who did? Donald Trump did. Guess which states he won?
You know who else?
Some Midwestern swing states. Yes.
Bernie Sanders.
I got some Bernie Sanders poster going up on the wall soon. I got to get some frames coming. So, anyway, man, and I keep writing letters to the UAW presidents and trying to get them to endorse Bernie, and they're probably just burning them in the trash. It probably burned in the UAW Solidarity House that caught on fire in the midst of 13 people being indicted and arrested and convicted of fraud and whatever, embezzlement. Yeah. Man, 2020 has been a wild year.
Yeah, it has. Let's get on to a slightly different subject. You are a poet.
I am.
And you recently had a new book out.
I do.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
So I've been writing. So I went to college to be a journalist, and I was a journalism major. I actually was a sports editor of my community college newspaper and worked for a small weekly paper for a while. And there's not a lot of money in journalism.
Oh, yeah, I know. And, I mean, that's ultimately why I gave up on journalism.
So, I've had a pretty wild life. But, ultimately I wanted to be my ultimate goal when I was a kid is write books, And along the way I fell in love with Shel Silverstein and poetry and tried to write poems and impressed a girl once in elementary school, and I was sunk. I've been writing poems ever since, Garrett. But, yeah, I wrote this book because I'm going to eventually, along with the studio and the podcast, I'm going to have a DIY chapbook publishing company. And we're going to partner with a local food bank, which I don't have their complete approval yet to say it, but we've been, working on that. So I want to sell these chapbooks, and $1 from every chapbook goes to the food bank.
Yeah, I was just about to say, No, dude, you can totally do it. But then I remember that you're actually trying to be legit here. Unlike me, who says, bought you by Drake Party Store, Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yeah, well, and I'm not above that too because I really don't. I really don't want to do like a lot of advertising. Like, so we got like 3 people, 2 other people like besides me, 2 other podcast shows besides myself thinking about coming into the studio because I think we're trying to like DIY and like we're helping each other and sharing platforms to save money and fees when we start. And it's been we've been hanging out a lot, but it's I don't even know why I was telling you that, Garrett.
Making conversation.
Yeah. Making content. That's what I've been reading a lot of articles. This is content, brother.
Oh God!
Gotta pump your brand, so listen. I've caught myself saying that like twice lately, and it's like, like it hurts me.
I know,
but I really am trying to create like a little small business, and so I'm trying to. I've never gave a shit about money. That's why I wrote this book. I've never gave a shit about money because I've always worked my ass off in a factory, which gives you just enough money. A union warehouse job, just enough money to go on vacations. But you're not really getting ahead, unless you work 2 jobs, which is, and that's, so we decided to start a studio, starts a podcast and but we're going to, I did that book because I was trying to learn how to do those how to make them. So we bought a new, I got to tell you, it's a Mac computer. I know Apple. I know what kind of company they are. But damn it, like all the artists say that's the best one to get, and I'm not enough. I don't know enough about it, so that's what I got.
Dude, don't believe the Apple propaganda.
I don't all of it. I read both sides.
Do not be fooled by.
But I've had their phones for 8 years now, so I'm comfortable with it. And that's what I got. But I'm trying to learn. I had to learn how to use this program I bought to make these chapbooks. We have I'll just say it like this, and off air, Garrett, I'll gladly share the story with you, but we've obtained a stapler.
One of those long ones?
It's a chapbook stapler. They call it a saddleback. We've obtained one, and off the air, I'll tell you how.
Oh, I know.
But it's got a cool backstory. And so we got this stapler, and I got this 2 years ago for my Christmas present, because I've learned I work hard, and it's okay to invest in the things I love. Because it's sometimes hard to do when you're a father in the Midwest. We don't. My wife and I were talking about stress and anxiety and being a middle-aged guy and how we don't always care for ourselves. Anyway, so I bought this printer a while back because I'm a poet and I'm always sending. So some of those chapbooks I wrote, Garrett, I sent one to Senator Sherrod Brown. I sent one to the mayor of Toledo, just randomly. I sent one to the UAW president. I hope one of them opens a motherfucker and reads that book. And on the second poem it says, and we know the politicians are going to protect our jobs, and they never have. I hope they open that motherfucker up and read it, But I do shit like this.
Hey, man, think about this, though. Ted Kaczynski did the same thing. He sent books. And,
man.
And, well, he accomplished what he was going out for, so use that for your inspiration.
See, there's some hope. There's some hope. And that's, my ultimate goal here is to create a small business so that I can work less at the things that I've had to do to get here and more on the things that I want to do in life. Somehow, like find more balance in that. And ultimately to not have to work till I'm 70. If I could build a small business and bring in a little income with my art and my knowledge of talking and whatever, all the cool people I know, and publish some books, and I want to work, I've got like right now probably like 9 or 10 other artists involved already.
Really?
And like I've got like a guy at work in the factory has a pretty incredible production studio. Works with some pretty good rappers, some pretty well-known rappers, from some pretty well-known labels. And I was telling him about my idea of having a working-class entertainment studio. That's what I want all these other podcasts to be too. And he's like, brother, he's like, what are you thinking for a jingle? And we were just talking. I'm like, I've been thinking maybe a blues theme. He's like, man, I got this guitarist coming in the studio this weekend. He's a blues guitarist. He's like, I'll just have him play a couple tracks. I'm like, man, like I know this guy's like a really well-known studio. And I'm like, I don't know if I got the money for this. And I'm like, yeah, but I got to pay art. I got to pay him. Like I can't take stuff. Like I'm an artist too. I can't just take their work. This is their work. So he's like, dude, just give me $50. And so I did, and we made an agreement to a pro bono. We're gonna tag him in every episode. We got intro music, and it's a badass blues guitar,
Yeah.
So that's like
bro.
all these artists have just volunteered to help, and that's like, man, this is so cool, you know.
Oh,
so I've had a lot of fun already. Whether or not this goes anywhere.
Bro, you should have put in the dubstep jingle there.
Well, so we got this young artist producer we're working with. It's a dubstep DJ producer. So
honestly, I didn't even think dubstep was still a thing. Like, I thought that ended a couple of years
so
ago.
he played some for me, and he's 23, and we've had some similar backstories of just a tough life, you know. And he played some for me, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I would listen to it. Like, I try to find things outside of what I normally, because I don't want to get in these grooves and never evolve. And it's like, I never would have, like, listened to John Prine, because he's not on the fucking radio. How you going to find him? How you going to find him?
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Rest in peace. Fucking assassinated by capitalism and coronavirus. And government's missteps in protecting human beings.
I mean, that's one of the more tragic ones. It's not like...
That one hurt.
That
one took a day or two to kind of resume normalcy at any level.
I know, that's the tragedy. It's not like the happy, funny, ironic deaths, like Herman Cain.
And that's other artists shared him with me, and I'm like, holy... Like, his first album, John Prine, like, he was a working mailman, and went to local bars in Chicago and played music and played his songs. And like Chris Christopherson and some other people randomly found him, and they're like, holy shit. Like, his first album, like, he's got some lines like chasing rainbows down dead end streets. I'm like, who the hell writes that? Like, that's beautiful, man. Like, his first album, I think, is one of my top 5 favorite albums.
Oh yeah, Bob Dylan, one of the greatest songwriters of all time, called him existentialist on the level of Proust, however you pronounce that.
Well, if you've spent enough time combing the astral planes of human psychiatry, we'll say, we've decided that Bob Dylan's a modern day prophet in the studio. So we'll play his Rainy Day Women here now and again, probably. You know, I don't own the rights to that. Can I say that? Shit! I'm not good at this yet, Garrett.
Hey, stun you when you're rocking down the street.
Yeah, man, everybody wants to get stoned.
Everybody just gets stoned. All right.
Yeah, so, man, I don't know about Dylan, but he's not, man, got to keep him safe, Like, what happens, like, it's like, I think about this, Hunter S. Thompson's gone. Like, he's gone. Man, could you imagine if Hunter S. Thompson was here right now with Donald Trump as president? Good God, Rolling Stone would be selling 5 million magazines a week.
Dude,
so, like, where's Hunter S. Thompson? Who is it?
Dude, this is actually annoying.
You know where he is? He's got 300 followers, and he lives in a fucking trailer in Georgia or some shit, probably, because capitalism. Sorry, go ahead, Garrett.
No, this is something that I've noticed past couple of years since Trump got elected. Every major right-wing guy, big Trumpers that would meet online, all love Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah,
like, they can't get enough of it.
Because
they got their picture. They don't want his books.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you, because I think you and I have very similar political beliefs in a lot of areas. I'm pretty much somewhere between democratic socialist and full-on socialist. Somewhere worry in the middle, pretty progressive. Yeah. But I do have some libertarian qualities. I do have some... Fucking Homeland Security Department is fucking evil, man. Like, they need to stay the fuck out of our personal life, too, a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
My wife and I bought this house. Like, I love that I can own some property. And that nobody can come and knock on my door and say, hey, I'm planting a tree back here. I'm like, no, the fuck you're not. That's where my fire pit's at, Like, I need that in my life, So I got a little bit of, and I think Hunter S. Thompson had that, too. Like, he had that sense of freedom. He was just free. That's what he was. Oh, yeah. Or he was chasing that freedom.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever, read his platform when he was running for sheriff?
Oh, yeah, man. He was, yeah. And that's what, man, we need Hunter S. Thompson to be sheriff, fuck. Yeah, I often think that I don't think I grew up in the wrong decade, because I think we need some, I've had a wild life. But at some level, who is working in a factory and saying, hey, we're important too, and we got a lot of cool, creative, artistic people, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Who's doing that ever in my life? There's a couple magazines that have some low subscriptions that are great magazines, and they're pretty somewhere between corporate Democrat and Democratic Socialist, somewhere in the middle there, because somehow, even though America was built on union backs, and unions were founded by socialists, somehow the capitalists brainwash all the kids in America to think that socialism is bad. You know what's bad about socialism, Garrett?
What?
The people have all the control. Really? Did you know that's what socialism is?
No, I did not know that.
Fuck, man. That's it. Me and you get to decide how many hours we're working this week.
Oh, shit.
That sounds great.
We can't have that, bro.
Fuck. Man.
Yeah.
So during the pandemic.
Think about it. If I could choose my hours, would I choose to work Labor Day this upcoming Monday?
The bastards.
No, I
the
wouldn't.
one day dedicated to you.
Yep. No.
They're taking it.
No, I wouldn't. But
They're probably paying you a little bit extra money, ain't they?
Oh yeah, they are.
Oh,
but my corporate masters know what's right. They know that I have to work that Labor Day. It would be a good thing for me.
boy, if only you paid some dues to an organization that stood up on your behalf and said, "Wait a minute."
Yeah, I know. What
Thank goodness the group I do is. So this is what I was going to ask you earlier, but I have a rambling way of getting around to it. Would you agree? Because this is my theory. No matter what happens in the international UAW, and we've all read the newspapers, there's some people that went to prison, okay?
Yeah.
For screwing over us, the union members.
And didn't that happen like right after the GM strike ended?
Well, it was ongoing, which kind of really made public support hard to gain, which is important in a strike. Like Toledo's a tough town, and we can get it, but it took a lot of work internationally, nationally to get there. And, to be clear, the UAW agreements made some gains, and they've also gave up some stuff that we're just now finding out about sometimes. And my theory is no matter what happens, no matter if there is a Trump supporter steward, the place I work in is far better off with the union than without it.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what I always tell people. I'm like, listen, we got to find a way to make it better. And if it's not going to happen tomorrow, we got to incrementally.
Oh, I'm the same.
I'm the same way.
I'm the same way. And since Michigan is a right-to-work state.
Oh!
Yeah, I know.
And they snuck that shit in too, man. Fuck!
Yeah.
Sneaky-ass Republicans. That's why I'm voting for Biden, because God...
Actually, ironic. And wow, I'm not trying to black pill you here, but guess who just recently endorsed Biden? Rick Snyder.
Well, there you go.
For you folks who don't know, Rick Snyder is our former governor.
How many people did he change their lives of forever in Flint, Michigan?
Oh,
that guy.
You spoiled it, yeah.
I'm sorry, Garrett.
No, it's all right.
Man, you're right in my groove now.
No, he's mostly well known for emergency financial managers, which would go in and take over local governments.
Some kind of computer company, too, or something he was connected with.
Oh, yes?
I thought he was. That's how he made his fortune somehow.
I didn't know that, but...
he's uber wealthy, $500 million or something.
Oh, yeah, but also he got right to work passed, which I was actually there during the protest, which turned to a mini riot. That was fun.
They locked you... Were you there, like, when they locked everybody out of all the protesters out of the State House or something?
Yeah.
You were there then?
Yeah.
Like, that's... man.
Yeah, and... as you point out, he's mostly well known for poisoning Flint, which he has yet to pay for. And here's a little link for you, a fellow an Ohioan. Guess who he's connected to now in a dark money group?
The dude from southeastern Ohio.
Here's a hint. Former governor here.
John Kasich.
Yep, John Kasich.
He's the most Ronald Reagan guy Ohio ever had.
Who also
John Kasich's like a modern day Ronald Reagan.
Who also endorses Biden and spoke at the DNC. And
so I tried to watch some of the DNC because I'm going to start a blue collar gospel hour podcast. I got to stay in touch with what's going on. So I watched like the Bernie speech and it broke my heart, but I made myself watch it because 4 years ago when Bernie Sanders ran, I've been a Bernie Sanders fan for probably over a decade. Because I've been a union member for most of my life. And when he ran for president, like, it gave me hope. So I actually figured out how to run as a delegate in my community to, like, go to the DNC to be, like, one of his delegates to raise my hand and say Bernie Sanders for president. So most involved, like, I've done phone banking for, like, some Democratic, like, I've done some things. I've even, like, took signatures for a local Green Party candidate for governor before, I've got my fringes, too, and I'm okay with it. But, yeah, like I won. I came in second place in men's category. They took 2 men and 2 women. I came in second place. So I get to this room. Now, of course, my own union takes 2 charter buses full of union members, all into the Hillary caucus. Now, by the way, Garrett, I don't know if you've ever been involved with any of this, but this caucus shit's a riot, dude. The fact that we do this in democracy is a shit show.
Oh no,
Man, they got crossing guards counting ballots in some back room of some high school. Like, wow, man, that kind of opened your eyes a little. But I went down there, and of course, I see my region, director, and who resigned very early and suddenly during the scandal. I'm just saying. And I saw him there, and I'm like, hey, man, did you know Bernie Sanders has never, once voted for NAFTA? And he's like, huh? And I'm like, Bernie Sanders. He's like, oh, he'll never win. And I'm like, yeah, because you won't endorse him because you don't have any balls. So anyway,
he's a socialist.
He retired. So I go into the Bernie Sanders caucus, and I get up there. You're allowed a 2-minute speech. Now, I'm a poet. I've done a lot of poetry readings. Like, reading poetry and writing poetry is like just something that's ingrained in me. I love it so much. And so I've done that in front of people, but I don't give speeches really. Like I don't ever stand up. Like I can talk in a mic, but I can do poetry readings, but I don't give speeches. So I wrote. I had my little index card, and I got up there and I told everybody, I gave a Walter Reuther quote. Walter Reuther said that the ballot box and our bread box is tied together, and we need to get out there. And Bernie Sanders is, blah blah, national health care, and I'm all socialist workers' rights. And there happened to be a large contingent of people there from the UAW factory in Lima, Ohio, the tank plant, which is pretty. They voted. Trump visited them, so there's a large contingent of UAW workers from there supporting Bernie Sanders' candidate, a female candidate. And of course, I had their votes, and I came in second place, and too many people voted for Hillary, and I didn't get to go.
Oof.
But that's how much I love Bernie Sanders. And it's like I found a few things, of course, I disagree with him on. I'm human. But he, for the most part, was way progressive on everything I believe in way before I did even,
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
How's your local politics where you're at? Like,
let's see. Well,
you guys blue, red?
Grand Rapids, mostly red, along with the rest of southwest Michigan there, because it's slowly going away, but they got that old Calvinist vibe to it. And of course, you may have heard of an individual named Betsy DeVos.
I've read a couple things about her.
Yeah. Some folks may have heard about her.
Yeah.
A little bit notable, but she's married into the DeVos family, but she's originally from Holland, which is like 30 minutes away from Grand Rapids. Also, the sister of Eric Prince, the founder of Blackwater, well-known mercenary group.
I guess they don't even hide anymore. They really don't care.
No, they don't hide that. They're insane Jesus freaks that want to destroy everything. But it's slowly slipping away. Actually, I got a funny story there. First year I moved to Grand Rapids, 2013, it was declared Beer City, USA, which
isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, it lives up to its name. There's a lot of beer there. And it's held on to that title since because the competition just got eliminated anyway. But I remember I was reading the Grand Rapids Press, someone bought in. I was reading the letter section, and this is how I know that shit's changing for the better, because there's this woman that wrote in saying, I'm so disappointed that Grand Rapids has been designated Beer City, USA. Back in my day, we used to be known as the city of many churches. Now we're the city of many breweries. How sad. Like, oh, fucking lady.
It's just a different kind of religion, that's all. That's the Midwestern blue-collar religion right there.
Yeah, Bukowski said himself, drinking beer is like a sympathy. Yeah.
And there is there's a certain blue-collar Midwestern, beer cans.
Yeah, so we got that Calvinist influence. We got the red there, but it's slowly going away.
They have any colleges in Grand Rapids?
Oh,
they
yeah.
have to.
Actually, you may have heard, well, this made the news in Michigan. Our big university there is Grand Valley, which, like a lot of places, has just exploded with COVID cases the minute it opened.
We have UT here, and it's been... I don't know if I paid enough attention, to be honest with you, because I work 11-hour days, 6-ish days a week, and I've been doing 4 or 5-hour days in the studio. But I try to stay, but I know in Toledo is mostly blue, which is good, and we're not progressive, but we've been able to withstand a lot of NAFTA and a lot of recessions because we have a large auto plant and we have a second pretty good-sized auto plant, unionized, both of them unionized. And because of those two union auto plants in this community, like there's probably 100,000 jobs in factories that are Tier 2 union, which are pay a living wage and have health insurance and retirement plans, which create a middle class that has been able to just barely withstand, you know, and all of those places have had their ups and downs over the years, you know, because they're manufacturing.
Yeah, so,
you know?
Yeah, Grand Rapids, one reason why I stick around is because we generally have a good economy, at least compared to the rest of the state. Like,
that's important. I mean,
at least good enough that if I were to lose my job, I could probably find another warehouse job or anything else. Mm-hmm. It's not like, say, where I grew up in Alpena or even when I lived in Kalamazoo, Michigan, when I attended college and that, whereas like the job market is so saturated and tight that it's like, oh shit. But another reason why we're particularly red is because we got what I call the three oligarchical families: the Meyer family, the DeVos family, and the Van Andels. And
all right there.
Yeah, all right there, ironically enough. And God, I could be really dramatic and be like, they run the city, you know, make out this cyberpunk dystopia, but it's just that their influence is everywhere, and people get really suspicious. Like, we have a thing that's bi-yearly now called Art Prize that the DeVosses, I think, I don't want to say run, but they heavily invest into it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people get angry about that. But hey, like I said, everything's getting better. That shit's going away. Yeah. Though it's kind of hitting a little stump now because, like the rest of the country, we've had our problems with our local police departments.
We've had some issues here.
Oh yeah, we had.
A lot of my friends were involved. I drove by. I'll be honest with you. I am consumed with my work at my job, especially this year. Like, it's been, like, you know, I've been to the doctor a lot, taking care of some things. Like, it's been a stressful year. And so I'm consumed by that. And then, you know, I don't necessarily have a temperament that mixes well with asshole cops. I'll just say that, okay? Yeah. Like, I have a history of authoritative figures being assholes, and I'm too old, and I got a family to take care of, but I can't go to jail. You know, although if there's a line, and I've never once been arrested for a just cause, and if I get that opportunity, I'll take it. But I don't want to get my ass beat because I got to go to work tomorrow. You know, because I got to build a studio so I can achieve the things I want. You know.
So I totally understand.
I drove by. A lot of my friends were there. I have joined a couple other smaller, you know, walks and marches after that. But that one was pretty outrageous, man. Our local police department escalated some things, and some windows got smashed afterwards. And that's the story every damn time. The cops do something, and then they smash a window. And they're like, oh, they're smashing windows, get them, you know? And it's like, all right, go on. Grand Rapids, what are those guys doing?
Oh, yeah, we had a huge uprising. Cops particularly started it, as they always do. And, of course, shit got smashed,
like every time.
Graffitied, and I had the pleasure of getting tear gas for the first time. But
see, I've done that already. So
that's the thing. I wasn't even like at the front line. I'm not making myself out be a working class hero there. I was like way the fuck back. But when we heard, you know, pop, 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 like, oh, we're safe, we're far enough.
Yeah,
and then you get.
It don't take a lot of that to get real uncomfortable.
Yeah. Then we all just fucking run
and just to be honest with you, I'm not any kind of working class hero. I'm just a dude that believes in trying to make things right in my world. But
technically we both are, but we don't want to humble brag about it too much.
No, but I have been hit with batteries protesting for gay rights, and I have in my life. You know, I've not any kind of.
Yeah, but
it's okay for me to send some money and like maybe go to a smaller march, and you know, I love you guys. I'll support you. You guys, you know.
Yeah, well, since the uprising in Grand Rapids, they're trying to change the way police do things, make it more community based,
yeah.
or like, okay, a cop will stay in this side of the community. You will get to know him.
And let me ask you a question.
Well, there's two other things.
Okay.
One, they're slowly bringing to justice, air quotes, rioters.
Mm-hmm.
And we had one woman who's blonde and really hot. She's like the center of it. And much to my chagrin, Grand Rapids progressives, I think, has helped out the police because they're trying to get names. Like, do you know this rioter? Like, God, fuck you.
Yeah, man.
Even if you don't...
They ain't paying me to do their job.
Like, I can understand not agreeing with it, not rioting. Yeah. But, fuck you. Don't work for the cops.
Yeah, no.
Bootlickers.
Anyway, I have a hard time with that. All right, go ahead.
Anyway, and the third thing is... this was... I guess, aside from, like, the big ones in, like, Portland and Kenosha recently, every uprising that I've noticed have one thing that makes it stand out. Our big thing was, it was caught on video, a guy who was just walking towards the cops, got maced, he promptly turned around and recoiled. Then when he got his bearings and turned around, a pig just shot him right in the fucking face with a tear gas canister. And, of course, they investigated themselves and found themselves not guilty.
Yeah.
And our police chief's excuse, well, you see, we have certain canisters that are okay to shoot people in the face.
Yeah.
This was not one of them, though.
Even if they're just walking down the street, it's okay.
But he just made a mistake. So we're not going to indict this pig who just shot a guy who was already incapacitated in the face.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on with Grand Rapids right now.
Man, let me ask you this. How do we fix it? What do you think?
Abolish the police. Like, abolish them and start over. Like, I totally am for defunding and changing stuff around. Like, I'm not so purist as, like, it's got to be my way all the time, but I honestly don't see any other way but to abolish the entire system, because, especially, like, recently Kenosha, like, you can't reform this shit.
Yeah.
Like, when a guy that fucking Kyle Rittenhouse, piece of shit, yeah, they congratulate him, basically. They slapped hands, gave him water. How can you reform that?
So somebody asked me as a union man, and I'm a full-on labor supporter. Like, I wish we had a local labor party, and we've talked about maybe figuring out how to start one. I don't know. But I'm all about American labor. It's built my family into a good middle-class life. And I know that that's what builds my community, makes my community better, So, and why was I telling you that, Garrett?
I think...
Well,
I do have... Well, that's actually an apt comparison to, like, the problems between unions and police departments.
Man.
Here's
have you read those stories? Hundreds of union members they've murdered.
Oh, yeah.
They're not our friend most of the time.
Oh, no, they're not. Police departments are not real unions.
So that's what it was. As a union man, that's what it was. As a union man that supports the unions. Like, there are grocery stores in our community that are union. I go to those stores. The department stores that are union, I go there. If I need a plumber, which, I try to do, I call myself a YouTube handyman, which is probably about the most Western thing you can say. But, if I need a plumber, I try to get a union plumber. I believe in unions. But, police departments have a union. And how do I fix this? And it's like, I feel like we've seen enough corruption in our own international union in the UAW that I feel like we've lost our sense of right and wrong in America.
Yeah.
Like, if you see the guy in the cubicle next to you, and all of a sudden he's got a $180,000 yacht, and you're both making $125,000 a year, and he's got a $300,000 house, and his wife and you're like, I think at some level we have a right in an organization that takes care of American workers and is supposed to use their money to do that. Like, and I think that's what we have to do. I think you have to at least abolish the union. The policemen's union has to be abolished.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
along with the entire concept.
If we don't, so, and you know me, like, I'm always just short of full-on socialist, all right? Just short.
Well,
but I think...
Here's the thing with America is that we are just so fucked up and so weird as a country that you can't be pure, like, say, I don't know, a socialist in France. Like,
True.
It's not going to happen.
No,
it's just so
and
weird.
that's, yeah.
Like, they
Oh,
often,
you're just kind of
like,
almost.
like they often complain about Bernie Sanders. He says he's a democratic socialist, but he's actually a social democrat.
Yes.
Which to me, I'm
Which
like,
share a lot.
Which to me, I'm like, who gives a fuck? Jesus Christ.
And
tomato, motherfucker.
Well, so that's something, and maybe the fact that I know in American history that they have often imprisoned socialists and communists in my own country, my free country that I live in, I was born in. So maybe that makes me a little.
Well, I got 2 points here. Well, the reason police unions are not real unions is because they don't show solidarity and they hurt other unions. Like
Correct.
Like the
That's 100% correct.
Not just with history, but recently with the GM strike. Remember, like, I think the Teamsters refused to do deliveries. Mm-hmm. See, that's solidarity. That's how you do it. But then
there's a time when every union would do that.
Yep. But then when they were blockading for people from coming in, guess what happened? Mm-hmm. Cops arrested them.
Yep.
No. So that's why they're not a real union, because they can do some bullshit like just doing our jobs. Like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
You're still arresting union members, and you got the gal to call yourself a union. Fuck off.
Yeah.
And second of all, if we're comparing like the problems between unions and just police in general, unions I see can be reformed. Like you can work that shit. You know, it's bad, it's terrible, it's corruptive. But the police have just done so much shit that they can't be forgiven. That's the thing. Like,
and it's
like the difference between like a bank robber and a serial killer.
Well, and that's the parts of me like agree with that with abolishment. But there are also parts of me that say, you know what? If we abolished the union, it gave the community control, so they couldn't investigate themselves. If we had a real authority from the community, a real presence of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe we could. And I think part of that is too. I'm in my 40s. You know, I've had a lot of. Like I hope I'm not that far away from retirement. I'm like, do I really want to rebuild? And then it's like every 5 days something crazy happens, and I'm like, yep, here we go. We got to go rebuild, you know. Yeah. But then I'm like, I get numb again, and I'm like, man, I live a really good life, and I'm like, all right, we got to go rebuild. And it's like, so I'm currently in the mode of, well, maybe if we did this, and the community was in control, and you know, it might work. But then again, I think, so then listen to this. In the 1990s, I got involved with gay rights. A friend of mine was gay. We became close friends in college for a while, and he wanted to start a support group, and somehow I got involved and became like the first vice president of this support group as an ally. And in the 1990s, I remember we had like a group function from the support group. We were going to watch Ellen, right? The episode where she kissed a woman.
Ellen, oh yeah.
In the 90s, right? This is in the 90s. I'm a little older than Garrett, you know.
Well, she's not
41. I'll be 42 in a few weeks.
She's not so beloved now.
No, and it's like, man, I kind of liked her. And it's like, man, the great Paul Simon, the great songwriter, every obit has mixed reviews. But it's like, how much can you like, because I've done some crazy things, but I hope I wouldn't do them now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we're supposed to learn from those things. Like, we can get a pass from getting married once when we're 20. For 6 months, 9 months in my case.
I feel the same way whenever I think about drinking Ham's beer again. I've had too bad drunks and hangovers. I'm like, never again.
Yeah, I haven't drank in 14 years for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I understand. You know? So,
all right. Actually, let's get back to your recent book.
Okay.
How many poems does it consist of?
It's got 12 poems.
All right.
Most of them, probably 6 to 7, are mostly factory work poems. Then a couple more like Midwestern kind of blue-collar poems.
Okay, and this isn't your first publication, right? You've had...
No, it's my second chapbook.
Okay.
My first chapbook, Bury My Heart in the Gutter, was published in 2018 by EMP Press. So that's I think that one has 10 poems. And its title poem, Bury My Heart in My Gutter, is my favorite spoken word piece. You know, so.
Yep. Okay, and I know it just got...
a new book.
I know it just got released, but how has the reception been for the new chapbook?
So I think a lot of things that like I've had a lot of positive feedback from like the local artists that already know me, which is always like validating and gratifying. Like I always, I think I've sold over 50 books so far. Like I said, I did it to learn how to do this, in the future, but also to try to bring in a little cash to buy a trademark for us, a show or something. And like, I need to bring in a little bit of money. I'm paying a lot of fees to start this up. So, and learn how to use my equipment. So I did that. And I've always had a hard time promoting my own work, but.
Big same.
And that's like, it always kind of makes me feel a little awkward. So it's hard for me to say, hey, Garrett, I wrote 12 poems, man. You want to buy them? Because like, really, you know me, like I post my shit on Facebook. Like I realized at some level, nobody is going to give me a $100,000 house in the suburbs because I write good poems. Like that's very, very unlikely. Unless you're a young Canadian, attractive, Hallmark colored poet, Rupi Kaur. Which I will tell you, I've read some things recently on Instagram. Follow her on Instagram. This is what I do. The things that I kind of get under my skin, I'll poke at them and I'll read them and I'll try to know them. I kind of want to figure out why. Why is Rupi Kaur so famous? Like, why is she on the bestseller list as a poet?
I've honestly never read her work.
So I'll tell you, she has gotten a little better, which I think that's what artists are supposed to do. So I hope if she does that, like when she gets really good, she's still relevant. Like I thought, and I don't mean that as an insult.
Well.
But
I'll join you here and tell you about the one poet that I vastly dislike. You may have heard of him. You ever heard of Billy Collins?
Yes.
Yeah. Fuck him.
Yeah.
He sucks.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Philip Levine?
Yes, I have.
The auto working poet from Detroit.
Yep.
He briefly was an auto worker. His brothers were auto workers.
Yeah.
He wrote a poem called "We Know What Work Is." It's beautiful about his brother standing in a Cadillac assembly line, like working for work when they would just come work for the day.
Oh, shit. I think you almost set the whole place on fire there with that.
So I got these, like I spent like, I don't know, a bunch of hours reading about the best thing because I got a concrete floor here. I want to soundproof it good. Someday we might make music in here too. I don't fucking know. So they make these carpet squares. And they're inexpensive and they kind of like double-sided, strong Gorilla Glue tape to the floor. Mm. So if you spill a root beer on one of them, which I have been prone to do occasionally, you can just rip it up and put another one down, and there you go.
And fireproof.
They are not. I didn't read the box that well.
Oh, okay.
So I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I'm sure there's some kind of government regulation, but do you trust it? Like if there is, like your cigarettes burn themselves out supposedly. But I still got a couple cigarette holes in my sofa.
Oh, man, I have a friend who, when they first started making cigarettes like that, just absolutely hated it, would go on rants on Facebook.
And we don't fucking like change, man. We're Midwesterners. Things are supposed to be... Think about this. Really, the Midwest thrives when there's stability. Whether it's an 8-year fucking George Bush, CIA, rich corporate oligarchical family that might be one of the 8 families that runs the whole fucking world. And there's a lot of facts that kind of I can base in there to support some of that. Anyway, even 8 years of him, that brings a little stability to the Midwest and things get better. 8 years of Obama, of course things got better. More people got fucking health care. But more people had jobs. Like, if you remember when Obama got elected, it was some pretty tough times, It was...
Oh, yeah, just coming out with a little...
Remember paying gas like $4.60 a gallon?
Yeah.
Good God. I made like $11 an hour.
Hey, man, we're currently in our recession, so we may see that again.
Man, don't say that. 'Cause I got a Ram. And it's, I love it. It gets 20 miles a gallon on the highway. But in town, ooh, man.
Really, man? You sure you don't want some of these black pills that I have?
Well,
Joke.
So, yeah. But yeah, it's a wild world. You just... I remember when Donald Trump ran for president, was like announced it, and I kind of knew he was going to. Like he started that racist birth theory about Obama and stuff, and I give Obama a lot of credit, even though I can find you a lot of faults with him. I can, I give him a lot of credit.
He's kind of trying to do that now with Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I don't know, saying like since she has a Jamaican.
Oh yeah, of course he is. He's a fucking racist.
Oh yeah,
If they looks like a duck, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, we're going to talk about it and not a Duck in Indie Row Studios.
Yeah,
that was pretty good, man.
Yeah, very good transition there.
Wow,
I applaud you for that.
I might be able to pull this off once in a while.
You'll get there.
This is the first time I've really, outside of like my real close friends have come and like we've recorded 50 minutes of bullshit and like 10 minutes of it are good. This is the first time.
Hey, we're already an hour and 15 minutes in, so we're still good.
That's pretty wild. That's Okay.
But how about we talk about the podcast, the Blue Collar Gospel Hour.
So during the pandemic, my wife's like, hey, you want to start a podcast? And we had some money left over because one of our vacations to Disney World got cut way short. Well, we didn't get cut way short. We just got quarantined in a condo. That was a beautiful place to be at the time.
Wait, so you actually went to Florida?
We left the day the Jeep plant was shut down because of the pandemic. And when I was in Orlando, when they were announcing, hey, this is the layoff number, yada, 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 and I'm like, oh, crap, it sucks for my backup steward, because I'm taking my whole family. Most of my family went. And we had some trials and tribulations there, but like the hot tub never did get hot, really. It was just pretty warm and lukewarm and whatever, man. Let's just say the condo wasn't quite as luxurious as it was built to be. Not that it was a terrible place to be, and it wasn't, but it wasn't
tragic.
Yeah, my first time using Airbnb, and it was a pretty good experience overall. But anyway, we were all in one house. Mostly, 80% of the time, we got along great. But the first day there, we stopped at a restaurant, a chain restaurant. Because we just got off the plane, we haven't eaten in 5 hours, and we pull in, and they're social distancing then, like every third table, whatever. So we get a waiter, the whole family's around a big table, you get burgers and fries and all that, and then we leave, we go to the condo. Well, that evening, the governor reported, said, hey, restaurants are closed, you can only do carry out only. We're like, oh, what the hell? Because, the major Disney World attraction was already closed too, and we're like, well, we're scrambling to say, what are we going to do now? And we wound up going to like a couple of local parks. Well, carrying out food from a couple of places we can't eat here, and hanging out with our family and having pool parties. And so, but we saved a shit ton of money because of that. And so when we came home, so the Blue Collar Gospel Hour.
Oh, actually, very quickly.
Yes.
You got a guy at my job. Let's call him Eric.
Mm-hmm.
He's not special needs or mentally ill, but he's just fucking dumb. Yeah, you encounter that one guy at your job who's just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And his two latest demonstrations is that as you all know, COVID is just exploding down in Florida. It's taking the place of New York now.
Yeah, and we got out well enough in time that.
Yep. And when it first started exploded, Eric decided it was a great time to take him and his family down for a weekend at Disney World.
Yeah.
Wow. And management was freaking out at my job because they didn't want him to come, but they couldn't force him.
Yeah, that's
unless he actually tested positive.
You can't make us do things outside of work. You can't.
Yeah.
You still have that little freedom.
Yeah, so it's like, God, you fucking dumbass of all the times.
Yeah.
And he comes back, hey guys, I had such a great time at Disney World this weekend. No. It's like, God, shut the fuck up, Eric.
Yeah.
Oh, he's also one of those guys. He stopped us recently because me and a few others yelled at him. When he would cough, he would take his mask down first and then dude, Eric, fucking stop doing that.
Hey, let me ask you this.
I know why it's not in my mask.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Don't burp in a mask, by the way. That's not always pleasant first thing in the morning. Have you, so, like I said, I got some tinges of libertarianism, Yeah. I don't like to be told what to do. So it's I understand a little bit those guys you can't make us wear masks, it's a free country. A little bit I'm like, yeah. But then most of me's but yeah, man, this is crazy and we're going to get sick and I got to go to work and wow,
oh yeah.
But it's a little bit of me's they can't really make us, but I'm like, yeah.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you feel any of that at all or
no, I
think it's a Midwest thing or
no,
or a Florida thing mostly.
It's an American thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is.
And we can see the results of it already.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
to be clear, I wear my mask everywhere I go.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Actually, I was wondering why I should wear my mask.
I debated it too. Just so you know, I think we've got a couple of pretty cool guests, pretty important in our local community guests.
Which
and we're going to get a clear shower curtain because of that, and some mic sanitizers. Like we got to do that to be professional, you know.
Yeah,
provide masks if they want them.
Which, by the way, folks, we were thinking about doing this podcast last weekend, but then you sent me a message saying, "Hey, my wife got sick.
We might have the COVID.
It might be the COVID."
Man, that was a wild week. So, yeah, my wife gets a couple symptoms of coronavirus: a high fever, a bad cough, and she's really sick. And she calls the doctor, and doctor says, "Hey, you both need to stay home and get tested. Don't go to work till you get your test." Well, in the meantime, we go get tested in our car behind an urgent care. You know, they stick this thing in our nose, and it made me sneeze, and my eyes watered for about 3 minutes. And it was very uncomfortable, but that's it. I drove home. But
well, you know, if you pay attention to the memes on Facebook, they're actually implanting a microchip down your throat when you do that.
That explains why I've had some like postnasal drip, I believe. I think they've like pierced one of my sinuses back there or something. The crazy bastards.
I love that meme.
I feel like the government's not following me at some level, and I failed as a human being and an artist.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But, God, what was it? Anyway, what I was saying with America is that, especially like over in Europe, they all got the sense like, okay, we got to shut down.
Yeah.
Is that they have more of a, I guess, a group responsibility. Whereas here in America, it's like, fuck you, I got mine. And you see the results of that.
You want me to tell you why?
Why?
I got some theories, Garrett.
Sure.
Blue Collar Art Gospel Hour, we plan to digest and divest and what do you call those things? Dissect these things.
Yeah.
That's a lot of D words in a row. I don't know if that pulled that off very well. But, so, Wall Street, that's the difference. American companies, and other companies have this at some level. But American companies can't just make $2 billion in profit every year.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know what that means? That means you're stale and you're not growing, Garrett. Now, 10 years from now, I guarantee you, 10 years ago, it was great to make $2 billion. Today, in 2020, it's still great to make $2 billion. I know it would be. You know why? Because I make just enough to have a really good life as a middle-class American. So I can imagine $2 billion, that'd be really great, wouldn't it? But if you do that every year for 10 years and your stocks go down, Garrett.
Well, yeah, that's
so there's less pressure, I think, in some of those more socialist countries. I think Wall Street, man, I think they're fucking evil.
Oh, yeah, they got a better economy. I mean,
fucking bastards.
I mean, think about all these multi-million-dollar companies, like, when this first started, instantly started begging for money. Like, we're going to go under. It's like,
yeah.
Why haven't you saved for a rainy day?
They're just like, So,
it's like these multi-trillion-dollar companies, but the minute shit happens, they seem to belly up. It's like, don't you think there's something kind of wrong here with that?
I know you have. I'm assuming, because I know the things you believe in and the things we've talked about and even on Facebook and interacted with, that you've had like some tough financial times.
Oh, yeah.
I've had some tough financial times. I'm sure that you have investigated some of those self-help like podcasts or like you've probably read some books or articles. I have, right?
Some articles, but I never really allowed myself get into like a self-help K-hole. Because
every once in a while they grab me.
I know, but basically because I think a lot of them are charlatans.
They're capitalists.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like that one commercial. The guy, in the green suit with all the dollar bills on him. Get rich now.
Yeah, man.
Shit like that.
Well, so most of those like programs or whatever you would fucking call them, advice things, self-help gurus, whatever the fuck they are. Some people's religion. They tell you need to save like 3 months or 6 months of like your monthly bills in a savings account. You got that? Yep, you got 6 months of your bills saved in a...
Yeah, I do, actually.
So we are not that far away from that. Like, it fluctuates. Sometimes we get pretty... Like, depends. Like, I was off for 3 weeks. I didn't get a paycheck for 6 weeks because of my medical leave for my back. So it shrunk down. Now it's going back up, going back to work. So it goes up and down. But most of my life, I didn't have that. So they tell us to do that. But billion-dollar-a-year profit companies shut their factories down for a week and they're like, oh my God, we need $5 billion. But they made $5 billion last year. Why didn't they save any of that shit?
Yeah, exactly.
How come they make us save? Nobody fucking bails us out, man. And all we do is just get up and pack our lunch and go to work. And ain't ask for nothing but to fucking have a weekend off with our family. And go to cool places like the beach and art museums and,
Yeah.
I ain't asking for much, man, you know. I know you ain't asking for much. Just a chance to write and make your work and, you know, travel, you know. I love that you love Chicago. I love Chicago, man.
Same here. I've been paying close attention to it because the mayor, Lori Lightfoot, has apparently decided to make downtown Chicago into like a fortress by raising the bridges every night.
Why do the guys that serve and protect have army tanks? Who are they serving and protecting? In every riot.
Themselves?
In every protest.
Well,
who are they protecting?
You gotta protect that property, bro.
That's what they're protecting and serving?
Yeah.
So that's why they got army tanks.
Yeah,
so it's not me and you?
Yeah, you gotta protect that TJ Maxx.
It wasn't really hard to figure that out, was it?
No, not really if you really look at it, but if you...
Like, I feel like the information's there, like it's not hard to link.
Yeah, some of these people that are so into that, you know, who think the guy that Kyle Rittenhouse piece of shit killed deserved it. Like, oh, they were gonna break up the property. Like, it's like, what kind of fucking brain works do you have for that?
I always got to give the caveat that I'm not a Buddhist, but I subscribe to a lot of Buddhist philosophies, and I mean no harm to living things. I don't really. But you, Garrett, are more important than any property.
Oh, yeah.
And
thank you.
If we lose that foundation, then we become heartless, soulless, fucking unfettered capitalists, and I lose hope.
I don't know, man. I think, like, say, Panda Express has a little more value than I do.
It does. That's why. Listen, I've been thinking about this a lot. So I do this. Like, I get some, like, 2 or 3 hours free in the evening, and I'll be trying to write because I'm a short story writer and a poet. And I'm trying to fucking finish a manuscript and finish a novel. But I'm bipolar, and by the time I get 80 pages in, I lose interest and start something else. So I've got like 80 half written. What is not 80, but 21 maybe. So I'm working on one now. But I get to thinking about shit. Jeff Bezos, one person, is worth $200 billion. First of all, it would cost $20 to $30 billion to solve homelessness in America. $20 to $30 billion. Jeff Bezos could, by himself, solve homelessness. Everybody in America would sleep in a home tonight. And he would still, by far, be the richest human in the world. And the fact that he doesn't do that means we should go kick his front door in, but I'm not supposed to say that because I'm a Buddhist. Right? I struggle with this. There's a civil war in my chest some days. But Jeff Bezos, one man, has more power in this country than the entire United Auto Workers combined. One person. And that, when we get, I was trying to explain to some Trump supporters recently, that when we get to that kind of imbalance, in every governmental society you study in history, when you get that much divide and gap, that's when people start burning shit. Like, this is not anything, there's a formula here, and we've like fallen into it, you know? But, yeah, man, America is never what they're selling us, you know? Never.
Never has, never will.
No, but every once in a while, I get up and I see that America. Because, you know, I was raised in a deeply evangelical, conservative. My father, I love him. He's one of my heroes. He was a kind man. And I've had to accept the fact that he was also racist. And he wasn't KKK racist. But he said things he shouldn't say. And he believed things he shouldn't have said.
Same with my dad.
And as much as I've accepted those things about him and loved him, like, I gotta come to terms with that too, you know? But, you know, I don't even know why I was telling you about my dad. He's a good dude, though. Died of cancer.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, well, that was about 13 years ago now. 12 years, 11 years. Cardinals fan. That was the one thing that connected us. That's why I kind of still, you know.
All right.
But
so, Blue Collar Gospel Hour. What is it about exactly?
So that's kind of hard to explain. I want it to be about everything I love, because if I do that, it doesn't seem like work. So, for example, putting these moving blankets up that I researched for an hour and bought them from a company that doesn't sell for a giant evil corporation on the internet. I bought it from somebody else that has a business. I had to pay a little bit more money, but, you know, that's why I work Sundays. So anyway, like figuring out how to put those on the wall, like these home like handyman things, I love doing that. Because it gives me a sense of accomplishment. You know, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I know how to use tools, and I watch videos on YouTube. I don't know how to build a studio. I've never done it in my life. So anyway, I like doing that. So we've talked about doing, like, video clips of, like, YouTube handyman. I don't know. But it's basically going to be a podcast for working people. We'll talk about educational things. Like we've got some labor leaders in our community that plan on coming on the podcast. I want it to be about working artists. I have a lot of friends that work in feed mills and on farms and in factories and are singer-songwriters. You know, I want that. Those are the people that we should listen to their music. You know, not some plastic, soulless fucking pop country music on a shit radio that Charles Bukowski killed in 1968. You know? Anyway, that's what it's going to be about, you know, working entertainment, you know, when all that entails. Because so far I have spent a lot of hours in this basement putting all this together and like fucking. So every time I do something, I fuck it up twice until I get it right. Like that's just my standard. So we'll see how this goes. But I spent a lot of time down here and it's never seemed like work yet. So I feel like if I keep doing that and figure out how to make just a little bit of money at it, then I've been successful. You know?
All right. Yeah. You got any like favorite podcasts that you listen to?
So I do listen to some of the major ones. One of my favorites is the Innocence Project. I do listen to Joe Rogan's show. I'm pretty selective. I have learned a lot. I understand the criticisms, but I also watch the UFC. So give me, you know, I've also did mixed martial arts for a while. You know, I also played football for a while, you know. But I do listen to Joe Rogan. Duncan Trussell, if you've never like listened to him.
I've heard of Duncan Trussell.
He and I both have shared some of the. I think I've met him a couple times on the astral planes. I do. My wife's got me. My wife listens to a lot of murder mystery ones, but she's hooked me up with a couple of like series, like 9-part. You know, one thing I've listened to some of those. Malcolm Gladwell has Broken Records. You ever listen to that?
No.
Malcolm Gladwell is like pretty incredible dude. All of his books are pretty educational for me anyway. But him and Rick Rubin founded this Broken Record podcast where they interview like indie singer-songwriters and artists. And it's like an hour interview. Sometimes it's Malcolm, sometimes it's Rick Rubin, sometimes it's one of their associates. And it's talking to like Roseanne Cash. But it's like part of what they're talking about. It's like, how do you write music? And like as a writer, you're like, oh, how do they do that? You know, because these are people you admire. So that's a really cool one I'd recommend. And he also has one called Revisionist History, which taught me why I don't want to ever fucking play golf again. Like he breaks down like things in like our American history or world history, and you're like, you know, I go pretty deep. You know, some of these, like you know, I can get in some Wikipedia, YouTube rabbit holes, you know, and I find out some fascinating shit. But he has this podcast, Revisionist History, and it breaks down that. Locally, Chris Peapod, Dower has a podcast called On the Radar. A friend of mine, we have a mutual friend that put us in touch on social media, and he's helped me out immensely. And because of that, I got to listen to a couple of his podcasts because he has some of my artist friends on. But he does like indie artists, and he works for a local radio station that has good like metal music and stuff. And he's got a really good podcast on the radar. So that's about all I can think. I've listened to the Garret Schuelke podcast. I think 10 to 12 episodes. So, but you know, doing that, like, I don't know anything about podcasting. I don't know how to like. I know how to turn the mics on and make and record. That's it, and play back. I don't know how to edit anything. I don't know how. So I figure if I listen to a lot of podcasts, I'll kind of figure out what I want to do. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
that's kind of how I learned how to write poetry. I just went to the library and started reading all the poetry they had, and somehow you're like, oh yeah, this rhyming stuff, man. That's so then you're like, oh yeah, but if you write rhyming stuff really, then you're like, oh. But if you don't rhyme, you can have freedom to do this, and all of a sudden you're like, man, damn, I'm writing poetry.
Yeah, I do.
So I'm hoping like osmosis, I learn how to do this.
Yeah, I do have a suggestion of a podcast you may like.
Yes.
It's called Street Fight Radio.
Okay.
It's run by these two guys, Brett and Brian.
Mm-hmm. And
one reason you may like is that they're based in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they've been doing this since 2012, I think.
Uh-huh.
They're both a podcast, and they also go on a local radio station called WCRS, I think. But yeah, it's basically a working class comedy podcast.
Oh, yeah.
They're kind of considered pioneers of the dirtbag left. Like, you ever heard of like Chapo Trap House and a few others? Yeah, they were a direct inspiration for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would. They talk about a lot of working class issues, a lot of local issues, and they got their own little quirks about them too. They got other podcasts like Brian co-hosts a thing called the POD Cast, a monthly podcast where they talk about new metal.
Okay.
Remember Nu Metal?
Yep.
Yeah, I love that one. But yeah, I also think when I first got into Street Fight, one of the reasons because when I was just looking for leftist comedy podcasts in general, I actually immediately thought about you because besides being based in Ohio, yeah, they got a lot of similarities. You especially like work from the background to the topics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you would very much enjoy them.
That's very cool. I'll check them out. That's been. So I've got this. Okay, you know how I know you make memes on Facebook, by the way, and I mostly enjoy them. But I also know there's some genres and some things in like creatively I don't get as much as you do. But
yeah, I've been known to create a meme or two.
But you know those memes that say, shit, what the fuck did they say? Damn it, I've been hitting the head a lot of times, by the way. 3 concussions out of nowhere. And I don't sleep more than 4 hours a night, which is terrible. I know it is. I've learned a lot from podcasts. I learned about that. But, I don't know. I was going to tell you about a cool meme, but whatever. It's probably important for about 2 seconds. And
all right. So
Street Fight Radio. Oh, this is, so I've got this thing. If I want new music, I go to somebody, I'm like, hey, what are you listening to lately? And about 2 out of 3 times you'll hear somebody, you're like, oh, I didn't even know about that person. You'll check them out. And 1 out of 2 times doing that, you'll find somebody like, oh, they're cool. You know? And if you do that to enough diverse people, like you'll hear a little of everything. So asking you a podcaster, hey, what kind of podcast you listen to? Like that's going to give you something I never would have found probably. You know, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, these guys are doing that. And that's been the cool thing about doing all of this is these musicians are like, Dan, get a TikTok, Dan. I'm like, things I don't even fucking know about. And they're like, Dan, I can't wait to, Dan, when are you ready? Where's it going to be? Like everybody keeps asking me, where can I listen to this? Eventually everywhere, I think. I think we found a hosting site we're going to go with this week.
Really?
Yeah. Podbean. That's what a couple people that are
nice.
Some nice low-level, like mid-level podcasts have recommended it. So.
Oh, yeah. Me, since I don't have the money to really afford it, I try to find free services wherever I can.
Yeah.
That's why I go on Anchor, Internet Archive, Mixcloud, YouTube. Yeah. There's the pitch. I can save that now.
Yeah, and that's, and that's a lot of the podcasts are like, Dan, that's what you need. Because we're doing eventually 3 shows in the same studio, and we're trying to use platforms, so that makes it more affordable, too. So eventually, hopefully, I don't have to work Sundays. By the way, we make double time in a Union Auto factory on Sundays. But Sunday, I'm not a religious man, I'm an atheist. Sunday is also a spiritual day to me, because that's when I'm supposed to be with my family. Mm-hmm. That's the time I should reserve for doing the things I enjoy in life. Seeing my kids, going to a baseball game, reading a book, whatever it is I want to do. So it's kind of like I'm always torn, like I need to make double time because I can do this. But then again, you're like, man, that's a day I don't want to work. So it's good and bad. But, yeah, so we got a lot of help here. So. Yeah,
so aside from this SWAPCast, any idea when the first episodes are going to start coming up?
So I've got a singer-songwriter, artist, poet friend, I think. Lives about 20, 30 minutes from here. I'm going to try to get him on in the next 5 to 6 days. I'd like to start out with a weekly podcast and eventually add like 2 to 3 episodes a week if I could get good enough at it and like learn what I'm doing. And I think I know, there's enough people lined up. I've got a couple of like ahead of the NAACP that I'm playing phone tag with right now. I used to be a union UAW local president. I'd like to have him on for like a Labor Day theme about how unions are supposed to be supportive of civil rights and like why that's important. So I've got like some people have introduced me to him. Like I know who he is. I've met him like 3 or 4 times, but I have a friend that's like, hey Dan, here's his number. I'm like, oh cool, So that's been the really cool thing about this. But I've got him, and I've got another Black Lives Matters activist that works in the factory. He and I are messaging back and forth right now about finding a time, but he works night shift and I work day shift. So it's probably going to have to be a Sunday. So I'm learning now. Now I'm learning how to like schedule things about because I have to work.
Same here.
Just I know you go through this. Like it's hard for us, me and you, to find time to we only live 2.5 hours away from each other.
Yeah.
We haven't seen each other in 3 years.
Yeah. Then shit happens.
Yep.
Like, try next week.
So, But so I've got those two labor leaders. I've got some LGBT labor leaders that are like excited to come on board eventually. I'd also like to focus. I've got a couple of like singer-songwriter and poet factory working friends and painters that I'd like to come on the show. And I'd like to. I've got some ideas. You know how they have the master class series. Yep. I'd like to throw together. This is. I've invested in some very nice equipment that these musicians told me I needed, and I don't want to throw it together, but I'd like to put together like 12 episodes of like Zoom videos recorded with like an artist, singer-songwriter, and put 12 of them, put them much like make like a 12 video series like Blue Collar Working Class, singer-songwriter series, and split the money half and half with all the artists. So we can make a little money for our studio, so I can spend more time doing this and building the things I want to do, and like support local artists. So I'd like to do I got some ideas like that too. I don't know. Mostly I just come down here every night and think about shit and do whatever I want and have a lot of fun. And so far,
very nice.
So.
Oh, dude, it's been an hour and 40 minutes. You
thanks. I want to say thanks for coming down, man. That's been so. I think you're a little similar to me on this. It's hard. I've always been a pretty proud, hardworking guy, and it's hard for me to accept like a lot of like favors. You know what I'm saying? I don't. Not that you're doing me a big favor, but it is. You are. Like you've had a podcast for 3 years.
Hey man,
and you're like, dang. Like we've talked about like a year ago, we talked about me coming on it, and I wanted to because like I like your work, and I'm like I like that he likes my work, and I'm like yeah, but it just never worked out. But it's like I appreciate you coming down here, man. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Like I'm excited to see what we can do at some festival. We've got some producers coming in here. Yeah, that like there's some documentary shit we'd like to do. So I like to work.
Yeah, bro.
Hang out with the people that I want to hang out with and make cool stuff.
Yeah, man. I'll come back here. Have me on your podcast.
Eventually, the green room that we're making outside the studio here in the basement is going to include a futon. There's a full bathroom down here that I got to remodel. It's going to be like. That's going to be set up to where if you come over on a Friday night, and we got a couple other people here, we're up till midnight, whatever, you could crash there before you go home.
I'm about to say you got to have a black leather casting couch there.
No, mostly because I'm married, and I just don't know if that's my style.
I'm glad you got that reference.
But yeah, of course, I am a lot of things, but I try not to hide from the truth. I'm a man that's, yeah. But we are going to have, like, pretty nice. I hope to build a space down here where cool, creative people want to come hang out.
Nice.
So that I could spend more time here and not have to go places that I don't want to go. And not have to, like, drive 16 hours all the time to hang out with cool people. Like if they're passing, or if we can make enough money to say, hey, why don't you fly into Detroit and come spend the weekend at the house? And it's a place they're like, oh, dude, I'd love to come see your studio. What if we can build that? And I don't care if I get rich. I don't. Listen, what I've determined is I make a right square in the middle class salary. I pay a lot of child support. I'm still paying the sins for my past credit sins. But if I can figure out how to replace that, then I don't need that anymore. And I don't know if this is how I do it, or if it's writing books. Fuck, I don't know, but it's just kind of fun. So, and people like Garret Schuelke drive down and spend the afternoon with us, and like that's cool, So thanks for coming down. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for hosting,
teaching me a little bit about how to do this, and
where can people find your work, man?
So I have those 2 chat books. You can find noduckstudios.com. So my wife came up with that, Not a Duck in Any Row Studios, and that kind of fits every artist I know because I know 2 shits about business or organization. But noduckstudios.com, there's a store there where you can buy my chat book. That's the first thing we put up for sale because it's mine and I made it in the basement. $6, free shipping. You might have to pay taxes in some states because we're trying to be a responsible small business. As far as my poetry, I have a Dan Denton poetry Facebook page that I sometimes post things on. But I am more and more like, so I don't ever submit shit. I don't know. Like you self-publish, I think. Or you have like some small publishing. You're not, like they're not like Barnes & Noble, like not Barnes & Noble. What's a Random House?
Oh God, I wish that'd be pretty.
Yeah,
nice.
no, me too. That's the dream. Like I'll be honest, like I don't want to ever sell out. But if right now sign me to like go on a 30-city book tour, like I'm done. Like I'm in a heartbeat. Like even if I gotta like I don't know how much I can edit. There's certain parts of me that can't give too much of, which is part of why it's been hard to get where I'm at in life,
Yeah.
But I wouldn't trade it for nothing,
All right, so noduckstudios.com.
And for my guests, where can they find your work?
Oh, well,
your books?
Yep. Well, you can find everything on my official website, garretschuelke.tumblr.com. And, okay, I already gave the pitch promo for where you can find this podcast. So look there. And, yeah, I think we're good, man.
I think eventually this is going to be available like on iTunes and Spotify and everything. That's how it's supposed to work. I just don't know how to do that yet. But I've got some people supposed to help me, so.
Very nice.
And that's been, thankfully, man.
All right.
So, thanks, Garrett.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Dan. And thank you, folks, for listening. Well, here's the outro song. Later, folks.
When we make moves, you gotta run quick. We don't give you a chance. Kamikazing your shit, won't quit. Flip, tripping the switch. We got the boys in town, throwing goons in the pit. Black mop water, clean cups. Get the keys, lock it up. We can go in, or we can stay stuck. Hit the stage hard, then we straight duck. Black mop water, clean cups. Get the keys, lock it up, we can go in, or we can stay stuck, hit the stage hard, then we straight duck, dive, dip in the stash, we gotta cold rock these bikes and get our hands on the cash, Dunny smash, it's spring break, robbing chicken shacks, I'm back on my shit, and seeking out on Battle Lash, let's grab these keys, let's hit this road, I got the whip full of quip, the pack case load. A dozen stops, spots ahead on the map. Gotta get these coffees from my mind to snap. Black mark water, clean cups. Get the keys, lock it up. We can go in, or we can stay stuck. Hit the stage hard, then we straight duck. Black mark water, clean cups. Get the keys, lock it up. We can go in, or we can stay stuck, hit the stage hard, then we straight duck. Step into a circle of knuckleheads, they chuckle and go in on these wrists. Y'all are choking up and buckling the heckler in the crowd. Just a tolerated presence, y'all forgot that I'm the eye on the mic. With the essence, I can hold my own, I don't need to prove nothing. Fuck what you think, speaking I straight stunting. We ain't bunting the ball, fucking knock it out the park. Wrap round, rock and roll these heads after dark. Black mop water, clean cups. Get the keys, lock it up. We can go in, or we can stay stuck. Hit the stage hard, then we straight duck. Black mop water, clean cups. Get the keys, lock it up. We can go in, or we can stay stuck. Hit the stage hard, then we straight duck. Black mop water, clean cups. Get the keys, lock it up. We can go in, or we can stay stuck. Hit the stage hard, then we straight duck. Black mop water, clean cups. Get the keys, lock it up. We can go in, or we can stay stuck. Hit the stage hard, then we straight duck.